My name is Jack Wallen, and I am here to talk to you once again about something. Now, when I woke up this morning, I was fairly certain I knew what that something was, and it was going to be very particular to writing. And I was certain throughout the day, until about half an hour ago, of what that subject was going to be. But as usual, something hit me. Now, that something is a little bit hard to talk about, I guess, on some levels, but that's what this is for, right? Because from my pain comes your enlightenment, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so I was going about my business today, doing my thing, and I went into the bathroom to do something. I don't remember what it was. And I caught my reflection in the mirror, and I was reminded how much I absolutely hated seeing myself in the mirror. So much so that I rarely ever actually look at myself in the mirror, which is, kind of challenging when you have this hairdo and you have to fix it every day. But here's the thing. When I was a little kid, or actually not just a little kid, when I was somewhere between little kid and graduating from high school, I was told by every member of my family that I was the smart one. I'm pretty sure you can infer what that means. That's right. I wasn't just the smart one, I was the ugly one. And that was pretty much hammered into my brain for quite a long time. And as you know, when things like that are said to you over and over and over and over again during your formative years, they tend to take root. And it has affected me in many, many ways, other than just not wanting to ever look at myself in the mirror. But today, when I glanced at myself in the mirror, an idea came to me. And that idea is sort of based on who you choose to be, what you choose to be. And I'm not talking about your career necessarily. Let me try to explain. You have to understand that this is very much off the cuff, so we're in for a ride right now, because I don't know what's going to happen. Something good, something bad, I don't know. So, thinking of that thing that my family beat into my head, and then the strange choice I made of becoming an actor, I started reflecting on my career and how it kind of navigated through that path and how it changed. Now, of course, back in high school, those sorts of things don't really register on you. I didn't audition for my first show in high school thinking, I'm the ugly one, so let that dictate the roles that I audition for. I was a teenager. I had ego enough to overcome that. And then over the years, that ego was beaten out of me, and then all of a sudden I didn't quite have the ego to overcome it. So back in those days, I was just auditioning for anything and everything. It didn't matter, because I had this idea in my head formed about who and what I was, that I could do anything, that there was not a role that I couldn't do. And then, as the ego sort of started to wane, I realized that, hold on a second, that isn't true. I'm 5'4" tall. I'm goofy looking. I have a screwed up smile thanks to I bit an electric cord when I was crawling as a baby, and it melted, it didn't melt, but it scarred this side of my mouth. And so all of a sudden, I had to think about these things. And it hit me when I was in grad school, I think. Because at the end of grad school, we had to do this thing called the 5-year plan. And we had to lay out where we saw ourselves in 5 years. And if I were to look at that 5-year plan right now, I would have to laugh at myself and go back in time and say, look, dude, you better rethink this now, because you're in for a lot of disappointment. Because in that 5-year plan, I had myself in Hollywood doing my own series and blah, blah, blah. And then it hit me that I don't have the face for television. I don't have the voice for television. I don't have the body for television. And then all of a sudden I started seeing my limitations as an actor. And I went through a really dark time thinking that, well, maybe I'm not as versatile as I thought I was, and maybe I can't do as much as I think I can. And I doubted everything. So I went from having too much ego with the ability to do anything to hardly any ego, which was crushing to my abilities. And I knew at some point I would have to find some sort of middle ground. And in the process, I had to decide what kind of artist I wanted to be. And to do that, I had to decide what kind of person I wanted to be. Because for me, those two things are interconnected. And it took me a very, very, very long time to settle on those two things. And even now, I question it sometimes. I question what kind of artist I want to be. Because I vacillate. I vacillate between actor and writer. But at the moment, I lean more toward writer simply because I don't have the opportunities where I live. And I'm getting older. And I feel this pull. And I think it's my ego pulling me back saying, hold on a second, guy. Is this still viable for you? And I doubt it all the time. But then when I looked in the reflection today, what I realized was that it is fluid. And what we decide we are, what kind of artist we decide we are, and what kind of human we decide we are, can be fluid. Now, here's the thing. The human side is not nearly as fluid as the artistic side, because I think that you decide that you make the decision, I'm going to be a good person. I'm going to be a person who spreads kindness. I'm going to be a person that other people can turn to when they are in times of need and have a shoulder to cry on, or advice to give, or just an ear to listen. I want to be the kind of human that gives. It's one of the reasons why I do this. Because, to be perfectly honest, I could spend this time in front of the camera doing nothing but promoting my books. Saying, buy my book, buy my book. But that's not what I want to do. That's not who I decided I wanted to be. And I decided that a long time ago, when I realized every time I attempted to market my books, I felt dirty and cheap. And I thought, why not just spend that time getting better at what you do? And just becoming a better person. And instead of marketing the books, market yourself, market your kindness. That's the kind of human that I want to be. That's the kind of person that I want to be. And last week, I intimated that I'm in the process of thinking about starting a theater company. And I am still in that process right now. And it affects the kind of artist that I want to be. Actually, it doesn't affect the kind of artist I want to be. It affects how I actually go about being the artist that I want to be because, and this is kind of my point here, I think, because like I said, this is all off the cuff here. These are just thoughts that are rambling about in my mind, and they all want to come out at once, which is very often the case. I want to be the kind of artist that makes you think, that makes you realize that it's okay to be who you are. And that the most important thing in your life is the relationships that you have with others, and the relationship that you have with yourself, and the relationship you have with the world around you and the universe. I want to be the kind of artist that makes you hold the mirror up to yourself so that you can either question or you can realize. And I know that sounds a little esoteric or ethereal or too grandiose, but I can't help it because that's who I am. And I realized that a long time ago, like maybe a decade and a half ago, that for me, art is about giving. It's not about taking, it's about giving. A while back, I shared the anecdote about the most precious thing that ever happened to me as a writer is when someone came to me to tell me that my books helped them through rehab. That's the kind of artist that I am, that I want to be, that I want to be seen as. We watched this movie last night, and I cannot for the life of me remember the title, but it's Kunal Nayyar from Big Bang Theory and Scott Foley. It's on Hulu. Look it up. It's a wonderfully touching, feel-good movie about a bookstore owner and his life. And in that movie, there's a writer involved, and he's a best-selling author, New York Times best-selling author, but he's just not a good person. And for me, I made the choice as an artist and a person that I wanted to be seen as a good person who is also a good artist, who is also a good writer and a good actor. But when people think about me, I think for me the most important thing is they think about me as a good person. Because I believe that comes out in the work. Maybe 30 years ago when I first started, it was like my first day of working with Stage One, one of the largest, most reputable children's theaters in the United States, which at the time was being directed by Moses Goldberg, who is often considered the grandfather of children's theater. And one of the things that he said that had a huge impact on me as an actor, and yes, he said it was very particular to children's theater, but I think it goes farther, it goes beyond that. But he said, if you're enjoying what you're doing on stage, the audience will enjoy it too. If you're enjoying what you're doing on stage, the audience will enjoy it too. It's simple, but it's so profound. And I have carried that phrase with me ever since. And when I'm writing a book, if I'm enjoying the writing, then I'm confident that when people read it, they too will enjoy it. If I'm writing a book and I'm not enjoying it, I stop. I scrap it. I start over. Now, that doesn't mean I start over with the entire book, because sometimes I'll be enjoying writing a book and then all of a sudden I get to a chapter and I'm not enjoying that. I'll scrap that chapter, start that chapter all over. But as an artist, I think it's important to find the joy in what you do. And if you can't find the joy in what you're doing, then why are you doing it? Because we all know, this is no secret, that artists don't make a lot of money. I don't know of a single actor or writer, painter, musician, dancer, sculptor, director, I don't know any of them who got in it to just make a bunch of money. Most of them, if not all of them, got in it because they knew they had to do this. They could not do this thing. That is what being an artist is. It is a prime directive. It is encoded in your DNA. You have to do it. But if you can't find the joy in the doing, whatever it is you're doing is not going to reflect joy to the audience or the reader. That doesn't mean everything has to be happy, but you need to be able to find the joy in it. But in sticking with my theme today, you need to find your purpose as an artist. What does your art mean to you? Why do you do it? Answer those questions. Whether you can do it easily or not, look in the mirror, look at your reflection and ask yourself, why am I doing this? What kind of artist do I want to be? You're looking at my face. I could not, with good conscience, say that I want to go to Hollywood and become a leading man. That's just not in the cards for me. I'm a character actor, I guess. And that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. But at the same time, the character parts are generally a lot of fun. And I have had some wonderful roles as an actor when I was true to who I am. But seriously, know what kind of artist you want to be. Know what kind of person you want to be. And you could ask that same question of everything. What kind of spouse do you want to be? What kind of sibling do you want to be? What kind of neighbor do you want to be? What kind of countryman do you want to be? What kind of human do you want to be? Ask those questions and answer them as honestly as you can. Because once you have the answer, I believe that your future will become much, much more clear. Whether you have to look in the mirror or not. Anyway, thank you again for listening to me ramble on. Today I really did just ramble. I hope that there was some thread of thought that actually was communicated to you, because that's why I'm here. I want to help you. I want to help you as artists and as people. I just want to make sure that you can navigate this thing called humanity in a way that is conducive to your mental and physical health and your emotional health. I just want to give. If you have enjoyed this, if you don't mind, subscribe. I'm not trying to make any money, as I always say. I'm just trying to help. Or if you know somebody that could use these words, share with them. And as you share, make sure you let them know that you're doing it because you love them. Anyway, I hope that you have an absolutely beautiful, lovely day.